Welcome back to this in-depth look at COVID-19 vaccine passports. We are now joined by Dr. Glenn Melnick, who is a senior fellow at the USC Schaefer Center for Health Policy and Economics, and he is also the Blue Cross of California Chair in Healthcare Finance at the USC Price School of Public Policy. Dr. Melnick, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure.
And first, before we get started, I have to say I'm a fellow USC alum, so I have to say fight on before we get this interview started.
Fight on.
All right, so we'll start with the big question first that I think everybody really wants to know. How likely is it that the government could actually adopt a federal mandate that would require a vaccine passport? And can we even do this right now while vaccines are still only under emergency use and they're not actually FDA approved yet?
Yeah, so I think your question, phrases it correctly. It's unlikely the federal government will mandate a vaccine passport for COVID. For one reason, because it's still not FDA approved, and the companies that have vaccines in America now are deploying those under emergency use regulations. But they have not gone through the formal FDA approval process, which could take some time. And so it's unlikely that the federal government would mandate a vaccine that's only allowed under emergency use conditions. I do think, however, there will be a role for government at both the federal, state, and even local levels to step up to make the documentation and the use of vaccines more valuable to our society, and also kind of regulations and programs that would help with outreach to disadvantaged populations. So the government has a role. I just don't think the federal government, or even probably the state governments or local governments, will mandate these vaccine passports.
And another question that a lot of people have is, how would something like a vaccine passport impact a person's civil rights?
Well, there's both a short and long run consideration there. In the short run, there's the issue that some disadvantaged groups don't have adequate access to vaccines, right? And so they may end up being deprived, being able to participate in different activities if they can't show that they got the vaccine. All right. So that's one issue kind of in the short run. There's lots of other kind of detailed issues, and maybe we can get into them. In the long run, this idea of a mobile passport with your medical information on it, which is a vaccine to start, there are privacy experts that worry about the long-term consequences of going down this path, right? Where it becomes, in effect, required for daily life to have this digital passport that has your medical information on it, because it builds a physical infrastructure and an IT infrastructure of reporting and surveillance and data collection. And then there's all these issues about who's going to collect the data, where is it going to be stored, who's going to verify it, is it a government agency, public company, what are the rules and regulations? So there are lots of important issues that would have to be worked out to everyone's satisfaction if this became a permanent part of the landscape.
And can you kind of break down what are some of the pros and the cons of a vaccine passport, not only from a public health standpoint, but also an economic standpoint?
Yeah, I think the economics are going to drive this movement right now. So there are tremendous, I think, economic benefits to certain segments of our economy. Those that deal with face-to-face sales or face-to-face activities, right? And so the safer they can create environment, the sooner that they can get back to normal. So sporting events, concerts, those kinds of things that rely on large numbers of people to attend, buy tickets, and participate. I think that's where we're going to see the movement the quickest, right? All these things that have mass audiences in close proximity are likely to adopt some mechanism that they can reassure everyone attending that those around them have proved that they have the vaccine. All right. And so, for example, your local hockey team, which, the season just ended, they were only able to sell 20% of their seats, right, under public health guidance. If, on the other hand, the vaccine rate was sufficiently high in a community that private businesses now could say, look, we're going to require everyone that comes through the gate to have proof of the vaccine, they'll then be able to sell many more seats. And hopefully public health guidance will change, taking that into account. And maybe they can get up to the point where they can sell 90% of their seats, whereas now they're just stuck at 20%. So the availability of a mechanism to reassure both themselves, the companies, and the folks putting on the event, as well as the audience, that everyone around you has been vaccinated and it's safe to go in to a closed space with lots of other people, and that the risks are low, if not zero. I think that the economic benefits are strong enough that you're going to see lots of businesses thinking through how they can use this mechanism.
So a big economic drive there for sure.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Still to come on 23 ABC News at 7. We are continuing the conversation, and we'll talk more about the legalities and the ethical decisions surrounding vaccine passports. We'll have more when we return.